Coach, the last weekend, 3 wins, but you weren't especially happy. What do you need to improve before the ASU game?
Yeah, I wasn't pleased. We weren't very efficient. Although, like I said before, I thought Sac State really played well. And what's becoming very evident, just from a national standpoint, on any given night, because there's so much parity across the country, that if your team and your players aren't emotionally invested and aren't engaged in the match, then things could get out of hand pretty quick. And we've seen that with a lot of upsets, and we certainly saw that, the first weekend. We need to certainly pass better. Our offense is still not kind of where it needs to be, and that, like I said, I think that's just going to be a work in progress. We're kind of working a few things out. I thought this week of practice, Julia in the middles got a chance to communicate a little bit better. So we'll see.
What's different about ASU this year?
Boy, everything. Is that me? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was looking at your phone and I'm going, okay. About ready to answer that. You probably won't want me answering it. Anyway, ASU, they are, basically a completely different team than they were last year. And they're more physical than they have been since Sonia has taken over. And she's done a nice job of kind of rebuilding that program. I mean, it's been a struggle the last couple of years for them. But she's brought in a really good group of players. It has some really good arms on the pins, and they're really physical. They're much more confident. They're older now. The number 21, Jeremiah, is really a good player and certainly one of the leaders on that team. But they're very complete. They're more physical than we are on the pins, and it's going to be a really tough, competitive match for us tomorrow night.
Another team that runs a 6-2. Is there anything special about defending that kind of team?
It's harder, for sure. I mean, I think it's harder. They have more firepower, and the players they have, they got players on the bench that would probably come in and play for us. I mean, they're loaded with some talent on the pins, and so I think they have done a nice job of recruiting the right kind of players for their system. And offensively, they're going to be a load to handle. I mean, Syracuse is probably the best offensive team that we played, and I think that they're better than Syracuse. So it's going to be a very competitive, tough match, like I said.
And they've had some injuries. Is it looking like they're healthy now? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. Like the one kid that transferred from Kansas has been kind of in and out of the lineup, and I think she's the most physical, talented kid that they have. And the film that I've been watching, she's been kind of in and out of the lineup, and I'm not sure what dictates when she goes in and when she doesn't. But they have enough players on the in the program. They got really good depth over there on the pins. I think they're a little thin in the middle. I don't know that because I only see the same 2 middles, but right now they've got the right bodies, and they're certainly going to be very, very competitive within the conference.
And when you go to USC, what do you expect to?
To be honest with you, I haven't even looked at USC. I mean, all my focus and attention has been on ASU, and Greg is the one who's been has been scouting those guys. But just from the people returning, Khalil Lanier and Botkin and the setter and the middles. I mean, I think they were picked second in the conference. Is that right? So, I mean, there's a reason why the coaches felt like they were going to be the second best team behind Stanford. So, I'm just trying to survive on Thursday, and then once that happens, I guess focus all my attention to USC on Friday. It's going to be a short turnaround because we fly out on Thursday morning, and then we're prepping all day Friday, or we fly out Friday morning, and we're prepping all day Friday for the USC match. So. USC UCLA play tonight. They get an extra day to prepare for us, and they get to watch us as well.
I know that your offense is still a work in progress, but are you sort of where you sort of expected to be at the start of Pac-12 season?
I didn't have a lot of expectations because it's so new for me as well. So it wasn't like this, brainstorming where I'm, text winners and, I'm trying to reinvent the triangle offense. This was something that I was kind of doing, but I wasn't having all the pieces together. And so for me, it's brand new for me as well. So I don't have a lot of expectations in terms of where we should be. I just know that we're not close to being where we need to be. And, you know, sometimes we're terrific. I think some nights we're going to be really, really good, and other nights we're going to be very mediocre with it. It just, some of it's just dictated by our first contact skills. I think the players are now pretty comfortable with it. It's just whether or not the location of the sets and the speed and the tempo of the sets are going to be consistent. Way harder for Julia. The whole thing for Julia, you know, I kind of feel bad that we're throwing on, you know, changing things up her senior year. But I think for this particular team, she can handle it. But it's harder for her. It's not nearly as, you know, she's got to really think now. And not that she didn't have to before, but before it was just so instinctual. Now it's much more deliberate for her, and it's not as easy.
Coach, how's the health of the team going into the conference play?
Now, knock on wood, so far we're okay. You know, it's a couple scary moments in practice once in a while, but right now we feel like we're in pretty good shape. You know, managing that is such a, you know, how hard do you push them versus not hard enough? I mean, no one can figure that out. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So how excited are you to open up Pac-12 and to play ASU?
It's always exciting, and that it's my last year, it's even that much more exciting. And then we get to play ASU at ASU. They've been on the road for the past 4 weeks, so we get to open up their season at home, which is going to be a good game.
How did you kind of evaluate last weekend? I think Coach was saying that he wasn't really that happy with how you guys played.
Yeah, I thought we were really slow and kind of behind the play a lot, made a lot of errors, and we're kind of our own worst enemy. So I think we're just trying to learn from that and kind of change our mindsets going into Pac-12. Obviously, the teams we're playing are way more competitive and way more skilled, and so knowing that, we kind of all got to work together and get our minds right.
And you guys' hitting is so far more than the non-conference foes. I was looking at the stats. What do you attribute that to the most?
Our hitting?
Yeah.
I think that's just our new offense. Our hitters are getting a lot more spaces, and our hitters have worked a lot in spring to get more shots in their book and to get better at hitting different lines of attack. And so I think with them, they're just smarter, more experienced, and our offense is doing some new space for them.
What's the biggest difference for you in the new offense?
Everything. Everything that I've ever known about setting has pretty much changed for the most part in terms of decision making. And so I really have to kind of be more focused every day in practice and every day in the game than I guess I would normally would, because it's not so much muscle memory to me. It's definitely a lot more thinking, a lot more. I guess I have to kind of learn the nuances of the new offense.
So when you found out that you guys were going to have a new offense, is that exciting for you knowing that? Or
Yeah.
is it kind of also scary because you have to change?
A little bit of both. It's exciting because I think it does open more possibilities for us, and it gives us another, I guess, tool or advantage into beating the top teams that maybe before we didn't have the best chance at, but this gives us more opportunity to actually compete and to be able to beat them.
For you, what specifically has changed that's making you step back and think a little bit?
I think it's a lot more depending on the pass, and so, I don't want to say too much, but definitely it's more about where the pass is taking me rather than me kind of making my own decisions, and I have to make sure that I'm watching the middles a lot more during this offense, the opposing middles, rather than just kind of feeling them.
What do you think the biggest teams in conference play coming up are the ones that you have to chase?
This year, every team in the pack is pretty solid. ASU has been probably the best they've been in, I think Dave said maybe 4 to 5 years. But obviously Stanford is looking really good. USC will be tough. ASU will be tough. They're all going to be tough. There's never a night that we're not going to be able to just walk in there and just sweep.
What's special about Pac-12 volleyball?
I think just the atmosphere in each gym and getting to travel into each facility and then hosting it here. It's so competitive. We've been playing against these girls for the past 4 years, or I have for most of them. And so I think whether we actually know each other or not, there's still that kind of rivalry that we have with each team. And I think, just the competitiveness of it is a whole new level rather than just playing in the non-conference.
Anything else for Julia?
Yeah, going into ASU, it's your rival and it's your last time. How does that get you up a little bit more, or is it still because every game you're up for every match.
I think it does heighten it a little bit more. Like you said, there are rivals, and so we've had our senior class have had a pretty good streak against them, especially at their house, and I think that we just want to continue that and make sure that they know that we own Phoenix and not ASU.
Anything else? Okay, thanks, Julia.
Thank